So, sorry about that. So, Wings of Weekend Wonder is a student-led innovation that is rooted on nature, community, and mindful travel. So, being that Kenya is a destination hub for birding, we find that most of the birding sites are underutilized and underused, and because of that, it's very costly and inaccessible. There's also a shift of need for... Hello? There's also shift... Hello? So there's also shift in... There's also shift in people are integrating from the wildlife safaris and are coming to more of conservational effort. And in turn, it brings about connecting people and nature. Next slide. So why Weekend of Wonders? Basically, we are trying to create a low-impact, sustainable itinerary in which we combine bird watching and homestays as one packaged product. And this in turn will help us support conservation, boost the local economy, and promote community involvement. When we partner with the homestays, we are able to promote the community in that we'll be able to hire them as chefs and guides. So my partner will take you through the next slide.
Good afternoon, I'm Wendy, and I will take you through sustainability and impact. We have community involvement, where we'll involve them as guides, as drivers, and as cooks, where they will earn an income from it, leading to employment opportunities for the local community. Cultural integration, where our visitors will get to get experience through cultural traditions, crafts, and foods. And educational awareness, where we make sure that the bird life is known, and we have revenue collection. We are targeting the tours and travel agencies so that they can put our package in their itineraries, service providers so that they can be able to put our package in their websites, homestays, especially the local communities that are staying near bird-rich areas, so that we can be able to give our visitors a memorable experience. Educational and research institutions such as schools, universities, so that we can be able to teach them, and if they want to go for field trips.
So our package breakdown, we intend to start up our project at 100,000, and this will include the logistics, accommodation, transport, guides, the community support. So our initial markup is by the end of 12 months, we'll be able to get an estimated profit of 600,000, sorry. So we want to charge our guests 10,000, and out of it, the 2,500 is the profit we'll get. So out of that profit, we are estimating around 20 guests in a month, which brings about to the 50,000. So on this map, it shows the birding sites. I don't know if you can see, but there are important birding sites marked with the red dots. That's official, and there's the bird site that's not official, marked with the orange dots. So in turn, Wings of Weekend Wonders ceases to bring about the concept of sustainability and conservation and involving the community by combining bird watching and homestays as one packaged product. So in turn, sustainability is not a trend, but it's a journey. In that, small steps that we make today will bring about a big impact on the next Kenya tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation on blending between bird watching and homestays. One question to them. You're going to stay for a few seconds to pick on that. Any one question or any comment from the audience? Yes, we have at the front, right.
Congratulations on coming up with what is possibly a very innovative package and the sustainability and the conservation aspect of it. What is the size of the opportunity? You're making a presentation to potential buyers, okay, partners. So you need to be telling us what the size of this opportunity is. Are we talking in terms of hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars? What is the size of the opportunity for this? So that somebody who's thinking commercially can say, yes, I would like to partner with this. And then two, whom are you targeting? So we are having a conversation here, but whom do you want to be listening to this? And that you'd want to have conversations with. So at the end of your presentation, you should be saying, two operators who are in the bird watching space, who are they? Do you know them? Okay, mention them by name and say, we are available to come and have a conversation with you. Three is to MKTE, once again. I look around this hall and I don't see buyers, right? MKTE, this is friendly fire. These buyers are using taxpayers' money to be in this country. They need to be seated here to be listening to these innovative products for them to take back with them. That we don't have buyers here who should be herded like sheep because they came here on our dime. They need to be here. These two ladies are preaching to the choir. We need buyers in here, MKTE. Okay? So that is to MKTE. Thank you.
Okay, so we are targeting service providers, whereby in case we don't achieve the 600 profit from the guests, we are able to come up with a strategy with either maybe Safaricom or Telcom or Airtel, whereby they put our work on the website and there's a service charge that is allocated. So maybe, let's say for example, there's a 5 shillings charge that is allocated. So the 3 shillings goes to the founder and the 2 shillings goes to the service provider. Also, we are also targeting travel and tour agencies, whereby we'll be able to pitch our work and they'll put our work as part of their packages. So when a guest goes to they want their services, they can be able to say, okay, we have something that is new to our package, maybe you can try and see how it can help. On the budget, our startup budget is 100,000, and we are looking at, we are starting on something that is budget friendly and low so that we can upscale to a higher amount.
The innovators, you're being asked on the commercial viability, because what investors want to know, if they are to put their money, fine, you're starting with 100,000. But then what's the commercial volume? Because they want to know, as much as you are starting, but what's going to be the volume? Is it worth putting their interest?
I believe Wings of Weekend Wonder is something that you can put your interest on. And the startup, maybe between, okay, our initial was that 100,000 just to upscale. But in case there's more, we can also do that.
Thank you so much. One more question, one last question for them. One last. One last. You are safe. Thank you so much. We're going to give them a clap then. Sami and the team of mentors, one of the aspects that probably has come out from this group that maybe you probably have to project on is the commercial volume. Because investors want to know exactly, if I were to put my interest, then what's the return? What's the volume going to look like beyond the budget of starting? Next, innovator.
Check. Good evening, everyone. My name is Steven Ondieki, student of engineering at the Nairobi National Polytechnic. For us, I have to pose a question to each and every one of you. As tourism industry, when I ask you a question in tourism industry, majority of the Kenyans will tell you what is about tourism. Majority will tell you about the wildlife industry only. For Echoes of Africa, digitally empowering you to drive local tourism. Next slide, please. We'll be majorly focusing on not only wildlife, we'll be going beyond wildlife. The challenges encountered in this innovation, we found that Kenya is mainly marketed as a wildlife destination, focusing heavily on national parks and safaris, and maybe the Diani beaches and all that. The second thing, we find out that many youths do not know much about the tourism beyond wildlife, so we'll be working on that also. Lack of awareness about the wider scope of tourism. That is including the culture, the heritage, and the hidden destinations in Kenya or Africa in the large scope. Few platforms exist to teach youth about the tourism industry as a career or as a business. So Echoes of Africa will majorly focusing on those main four components. Shaping the future of the youth, of the tourism with the youth, will be training the youths not only in wildlife sector, but also showcasing the hidden gems. Will help position Kenya as more than just a wildlife destination, but a holistic offering diverse areas to visit. We'll also equip the youths with digital skills for tourism marketing, positioning them as future digital marketers in the tourism industry. Also, we'll be partnering with various organizations like the Kenya Tourism Board, the operators, the promotional bodies, to expose the youth to real opportunities. Why Echoes of Africa? Echoes of Africa will be dedicated to showcasing the Kenyans' hidden gem. We'll be sending out scouts. All those people will be trained, will be sent outside there as scouts to give us feedbacks on the hidden gems around Kenya and even across Africa. Also, we'll be shifting focus beyond wildlife to holistic tourism, which will attract more people from different destinations or regions, which will be improving the tourism industry. We'll be empowering the youth through digital marketing skills. We'll be creating opportunities in tourism and beyond. Partnering with KTB and stakeholders will amplify the impact and even the investors. So, next slide, please. These are various of the places we have visited and see that most of the places have not been discovered, like the Karuru Falls, Mamburi Sand Dunes, Marafa Hell's Kitchen, Muranga Gorges, Congo River, the Castle Forest in the other side of the mountain region. Next slide, please. Here will be, actually is a video, please. So here we'll be giving the youths the common, like smartphones, the drones to do the aerial view and all that. We'll be engaging the community to these innovations so that each and every community can be able to be scaled out, like what do we have in this community? That is one of the main things. Next slide, please. Business model, the value proposition will be promoting beyond wildlife, will be empowering the youths, support the heritage, and also give a sustainable tourism. Because even you see when the COVID-19 came in, majority of our tourism industry went down. So we'll try to ensure we promote the local tourism. When even disaster come, we can able to support the tourism industry by using our local tourist attractions or the tourists in the local communities. Also, the customer segment will be having the local tourism, international tourists, bloggers, influencers, students, and youths, which will be our main important section, the students and the youths, because most of our generation, we are not engaged in the tourism industry. So, and because the millennials are moving out, we'll be ensuring that the students from the younger age to the 30, 40 years will be engaged in this. The key activities, training youths, connecting the creation, promote the hidden gems, also digital campaigns, which will be improving our tourism industry. Key partners, the Kenya Tourism Board, tour operators, communities, which is a great impact in this. We'll be coordinating with the communities, the schools, universities, NGOs, and the government bodies. Cost structure, we're giving you in a few. The revenue streams, campaigns, operators, partnership, channels, the social media. If you go into our social media, the Echoes of Africa, you'll find that we have gone to different places with different youths. Also the customer relationship, we will be having feedbacks where each and every customer will be engaged in this platform will be giving out whatever they want to do or whatever needs to be improved on. We'll also, because I've been here since the first day, most of the people are saying about the storytelling about our tourism industry. We'll be majorly focusing on that to ensure that each and every part of our country is heard, because we are just focusing on the Maasai land, which I live in. Maasai land, maybe we go to the Samburu side, but we leave the other counties. So we'll be focusing on that. Also, partnering with the youth ambassadors and partnership. Next slide, please. This is the cost. The cost will be having the training workshop, which will be around 40,000, which the trainees, the manuals, the certificates, and all that. The equipment and technology will be having the smartphones, bundles, all that will be almost around 70,000. Digital infrastructure, booking systems, websites, and social media setups, which will be around 40,000. Ambassadors initiatives, rewards for the top performance, content, and impact. We'll also be promoting each and every person who will be in this platform to encourage them to bring other youths inside the platform. So we'll be giving them something to go and say that we benefited from this. This is the training that we have been having. So we'll be having the impact and the rewards. Also the logistics, transports, meals, communication, expenses for those trainings. We'll be having around 25,000. I think the slide is too enlarged. So the next thing is about the monitoring and marketing. We'll be monitoring each and every person who will be in the platform. So that will be around 20,000. The total cost will be around 200,000 Kenyan shillings. What is the community impact in Kenya? We'll be enhancing the community engagement and diversity income sources. We'll be creating jobs opportunities. We'll be fostering local participation, promoting hidden gems, strengthening the Kenyan tourism positioning. Next, and that will be the end of the presentation and the innovation in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Echoes of Africa. I mean, we came from the wings of Weekend Wonders to Echoes of Africa. Any question to the Echoes of Africa? 2 questions are given today. We have the first one there. Take it on, lady.
Good afternoon. Very impressive, and I'd like to commend you on that. I'd just like to understand, what about, okay, as a person with a disability and I'm registered under NCPWD.
I cannot hear you. Can you enlarge that?
As a person with disability and I'm registered under the NCPWD, I notice here that you have not put forth anything about perhaps the
We have so many microphones.
Sorry for that. So training the youth is an excellent thing, but you've not mentioned about anybody living with disability and how you're going to incorporate our children and our youth into that program, perhaps even through the NCPWD.
Okay, for this program, we'll be not restricting any person. Every person is welcome on board. Even if you are a disabled person, we'll have each and every person be incorporated in this. Also, as for that, I have a huge team. Actually, can you stand up? This team, as you can see, each and every person is specialized in different categories. We have lawyers, we have people who do sign languages. We ensure that each and every person is capable of doing this. Each and every person will be included. Nobody will be excluded, because I've seen that, so nobody will be excluded. So we'll ensure that if you come in and you have a certain challenge, we'll ensure that we'll get somebody can help you in that challenge, in that situation. Any other question?
Thank you so much, Ecos of Africa. I think from the presentation audience, you can see the students are ready, and they're ready to create solutions on what happens in the industry. So the wonders of Weekend and then the Ecos of Africa, thank you so much for the presentation. We now want to give a chance to very quick talk by Innovation Ecosystem from the Global Development Incubator. Based at the coast, doing really beautiful job at the coast. Peter Kibe, you want to give us just a quick highlight on how the Innovation Ecosystem works?
Thank you so much. My name is Peter Kibe, and I come from Mombasa. And I don't know whether the presentation will be there, but I just wanted to share with you some of the work we are doing in Mombasa, responding to scientific research that has been put forward by the government and other organizations, that our coastal tourism product is becoming monotonous, is becoming tired, and therefore needs rejuvenation. And in Mombasa, we have an initiative called Mombasa Tourism Innovation Lab that is anchored at a youth-led organization called Swahili Port Hub Foundation, where we have incubated very nice ideas from young people, developed them into market-ready tourist products, and mainstreamed them in the mainstream product offering. This is a testament that young people can be meaningfully included in our tourism value chain. So my call to action is, thank you so much. As you can see, there's some data, of course, underscoring the need for innovation, and this is with different organizations. Next slide. I just want to quickly, because I don't have a lot of time, to show you, for instance, the need of us, using platforms like Airbnb experiences to develop experiences that can complement our core product in Mombasa and in coast at large. Next slide, please. If you can see, definitely our hotels, conference venues, attractions, and parks are our core product. but they need to be complemented with accessible experiences that young people can be able to do to increase the visitor spend and to increase our length of stay in Mombasa. So this is what we have done, not limited to this. And quickly, I'll just show you what are some of those innovations. Next slides, please. Of course, this is the lab that the initiative that we are championing. Next, please. We have incubated, of course, Mombasa is a cultural place, and there was a gap in having a place where travel agents, hotels can take their tourists to consume our culture. So there is one cultural space. We have an ecotourism product that we have incubated down at the coast in Chuda Creek. A very nice ecotourism product for those of you who come to the coast. You don't have a lot of tourists going to the Chuda Creek, and this is one of the ecotourism product. Next, please. Bike experiences, still run by young people, taking people to cultural and heritage sites on 2 wheels and sustainable through bike tours. Thank you. Next. We have pottery experiences. We have studies showing that young people, or rather the modern traveler, wants to immerse himself into our culture, and he can partake pottery experience. Next. Another cultural center. You can just go, because I don't have a lot of time, I would have really wanted to share more. This is also another CBO, running Akaya, a cultural center within Akaya. Next. We have one of our young person who has incubated all these experiences and put them into a digitalized platform that you can be able to actually buy these experiences. Next. Also another young person trying to do some grading of our ACs. Next. Another young person who is trying to take all these souvenirs and putting them into an e-shop, and you can actually, can be integrated with your travel agencies, and the client will be able to get the souvenir during his safari. Next. This is actually one of the best-selling products in Mombasa. Just a young person who helped him, or rather helped her put together an Airbnb experience, and day in, day out, she has, tourists having night tours in Old Town and all those scenic places in Mombasa. Next. This is a Nico restaurant in Mombasa, also along the Chuda Creek near the newly opened Dogokundu, also offering unique experiences, boat rides and sundowners. Next. A very fantastic food trail tour where you get to understand the heritage of Mombasa and also have some tasting of nice food, nice Swahili food that is from Mombasa, run by 2 young girls. Also, another young person trying to do recycling and upcycling of billboards into good souvenirs, their house at Fort Jesus. So, ladies and gentlemen, while I don't have so much time to take you through all these innovations, my call to actions, maybe you can just go to the next call to actions. We have virtual reality, tuk-tuk tours, the next slides. These are my call to actions, ladies and gentlemen. We have to support our young people and create avenues and pathways for them to, to come into the tourism industry. Owing to the fact that they cannot build hotels or maybe buy jeeps, but there are those things that can be, they can do that can be integrated into a mainstream. And one of them, and my ask especially to the hoteliers that are here, is let's sell the destination first. Gone are the days that we are putting forward our 4 walls of the hotel. You just want to lock your tourist there, for the whole 5 days. Sell the destination. Have an experienced manager to curate excursions in the destination so that we provide as much as we can do. Let's not think that what we are providing is below par. This is actually what the client wants. Let's embed these innovations in our packages, in our itineraries. Someone said here that we should not just sell our beds when you go to your websites. We don't want to see the beds at your conference hall. We want to see you selling the culture, the African food trail, the local food. And you can do this actually in a commercial way, not for free, but have a commercial agreement with these innovators. Thank you so much. We are very happy to see Dr. Chiao and all other universities, inculcating entrepreneurship and innovation in our curricula, so that by the time someone is graduating, he actually has a project that he can turn it into a business, which is something that was not happening previously. So, ladies and gentlemen, with my few minutes, this is the call to action is that let us inculcate innovation. Let's embrace this innovation. When these young people come to your hotels, to your travel agencies, their ideas might not be 100%, but have an open heart to let them structure that innovation. So thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Peter Kibe. I know you're doing a fantastic job at the Coast in creating the pathways for innovation. But you didn't tell the audience, I worked with Peter quite a few years back. And Peter told me, David, I'm going to the Coast to support innovation incubation. And that's what he's doing now, while we remained in Nairobi, but collecting everyone to support innovation ecosystem. So thank you so much for doing the job, Peter. We have innovators, thank you so much, the Wings of Weekend Wonders, and then we are talking about Ecos of Africa. I think the names already sound business. And I think float out your contacts to the audience. There's industry partners here, they can partner with you. Now, one job is cut out. While the youth are owning these businesses, we are creating for them pathways. Let's support them also to own these businesses. And I think the work of Kenya Copyright Board is cut out. Kenya Copyright Board, we have representation here. We have KIPI. Any other organization, yeah, they are here. So innovators, please, can you check on them? Can you guys float your contact so that you can start supporting innovators to own the copyright or to have the rights of their businesses? Because anything can happen with businesses at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me at this time to, innovators, you are free to join the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to invite our keynote address from Anuj Kent. Anuj Kent is the founder, Perfect Pics. Anuj, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about innovation and diversification of experiences in a slightly different way. I'm going to bring this back to storytelling and how we can use storytelling to really take what we're doing, all the great ideas that I can keep hearing about that are coming through, and bring them out into the fore. How do we make sure that everyone's hearing all these great ideas? How are we not just stopping at a good idea and leaving it at that? I'm going to start with a little story to give you a little bit of a background of myself as well. But when in my past kind of time, as my guy is setting up, I worked for British American Tobacco, the cigarette people in their UK offices. And my first part of my job, I was traveling a great deal of a lot. 80 to 90% of my time was out on the road. And the early days of this travel, BAT was, it had a pretty healthy travel budget. We would fly first class and stay in the best hotels in all the cities that we were visiting. But here's the thing. Can I use this? In the hotels that I started staying in initially in this first start of this of the travel period, what I realized or what I felt was all these hotels were, they were great, they were really good, they were very well decked out, very well equipped. They had all the amenities that you needed, but they were boring. Any city that you went to felt the same. You would go to cities and you go to hotels and you wouldn't know where you are because there's a very standardized product that we were doing. And very quickly, I think travelers, whether you're traveling for work or for pleasure, started going, we need to see something. We need to have an experience. We need memories in the moments that we travel. And I think that's changed, right? So you've started getting hotels, the boutique hotels started coming in, diversification of experiences started coming in. Now, here's the thing, and here's the thing that I'd like to keep reporting and showing you now. The product never changed. the product was still a hotel room. The one thing that everyone started doing was telling you the story of who they were, telling you a little bit more about what they were, building in characters to the hotels. And I think that's a really important thing in the whole theme of what I'm going to be talking about, which is we get a little bit carried away with innovation as a word. We feel that we need to readdress and rechange the whole product and do something completely dramatically different when we don't. I mean, by definition, innovation is just making a small change to a product, a service, or an experience that adds value, right? And there's so many great or big or good or bad examples of products that are not particularly great products, but are probably the most popular things. I'll start with Coca-Cola and Red Bull, which are my favorite examples to always use. Not particularly great products, but exceptionally well-told stories. These products sell themselves not because of the product themselves, but the stories that sell behind them. Another very simple example before I get to what we're doing on our storytelling side is Lego. I mean, in my days, my youth days, which were a long, long time ago, Lego was a pretty popular toy. It was a little plastic block, and you would build whatever you wanted to build. And then it went out of favor as electronic cars and technology started coming in. Lego felt like it was going to lose. In fact, it was almost close to bankruptcy because who was going to play with a little plastic toy when you could have all these electronic gadgets that fly and run and do whatever else? And Lego did something really simple. They just went with a new story about reimagination. Reimagine Lego. They came out with a movie, they came out with games, they just retold their story. Lego is still a single plastic building block, but is now the biggest selling toy. My point in all this is, first, before you try anything else, make sure you know your story and you get people to listen to your story. It's only when you are the storyteller, it's only when you're the narrators of your story can you change anything. So whatever you guys are doing, whatever great innovations you guys are working on, make sure you understand what story you're putting behind it and how you're going to get that story out there. I'm going to take you through what we have done. I need a, sorry, is this mic going to work? Thanks. Okay, so I've seen some familiar faces in here. I'm going to talk you through, just open the book. I'm going to talk you through what we're doing in the tourism sector. It's one of the sectors that we work in, but I'll start the story with tourists come for a memorable experience. Visitors, people travel for memorable experiences. Memories is what they're trying to capture. Right? Memories are very often and very well captured through images. We all take images. We've all got great cameras in our pockets right now, and we're all taking brilliant images. Truth is still that all our images are still staying in those cameras. I want to share with you how we've managed to take the Kenyan dynamics and tell stories for tourists that ends up making us actually the storytellers and the narrators of the story. I'll explain. So first, a couple of dynamics that we all know about. Kenya, East Africa, all our markets here, we're very predominantly itinerary-based. That means we know when a tourist, we know pretty much when a tourist wakes up in the morning, we know what they're going to have for lunch, we know what they're going to have when the sundowners are. I mean, honestly, we can even tell you where they're going to have, what sundowners they're going to have. We're itinerary-based. What itinerary-based means, we know their story. We know the story a tourist is going to have. The second thing that we have is we're very, very often guided. We always have a driver or a guide with the tourist. These two dynamics are really important in everything else that I'm going to be telling you about how we can take control of a narrative. And again, I keep repeating, when we take control of a narrative, you can change anything. You can really make a big difference. When you become the storyteller, that's when you make the big differences. So we get the drivers to take pictures, and we use the itinerary to direct the story. Just give me a couple of pages.
Sure.
And then the kind of net result of all that is, without any effort from the tourist. The tourist has not taken a single picture, it does not need to give us a single picture. We have told the story of the tourist time in Kenya, or in East Africa, or wherever they are. So as you can see, it's a pretty nice story, right? It's a good depiction of the whole time in Kenya. Tourists are super happy when they get this. I'll show you a video later of the reactions on tourists. They've been in tears when they get these books because it's a really special book. It's a really special, it's good. It's a really special memento that they take away. But here's the thing. We're not actually telling the tourist story. We're telling the Kenyan story. As the storytellers, as the guys who are controlling the narrative, we're telling the story that we want the tourists to see. We want the world to see the beautiful accommodation that we have here, the beautiful wildlife that we have here, the culture, the people, the beauty of this country and the region or wherever they're coming from. That's what we want them to take back home. If you left the tourists completely on their own to do their own book, they could do anything. They could do a book of animals alone, or could do a book of selfies. But this is really important because now what we've done, through the tour company that brought them here, we're telling a story that yes, the tourist is cherishing, but when they show their friends and family, it is something that depicts the Kenya we want people to see. A Kenya that, unfortunately, for whatever reason, has not always been perceived or been depicted in the way that we'd want to. And we know this. So most of you, anybody here who's in travel will know that our biggest hiccup or the biggest thing that we fight against is generally perception, right? The perception of this market is nowhere close to what the reality is. The people who know that the most are these guys. When they come here and see the reality of what they've got, they go back home telling everyone, let me tell you how amazing Kenya is. Almost irrespective of which tour companies brought you here, the statistics are pretty clear. What we say we're going to deliver as a product, we over-deliver by a long way. It's one of the biggest, best features that we have. What we tell them you're going to get, we more than deliver. So these guys go back and they're really happy. Just go back to the first page. And they've told a really good story, right? We've told a really good story. Again, we've seen tourists in tears when they get their story. They're really excited, very happy to receive the book. I'll just pause for a second. Can you just play that video, please? Can we play the video?
Oh my God! How did you do that? Oh my gosh! Oh my God!
Oh wow, what a great idea.
Oh my God!
Okay, you can pause the video, thanks. Okay, so what we're basically saying is we're telling a good story, right? This is a really nice story. It's a really nice way to depict what Kenya is about. The tourist is very happy because they're the main protagonist in that story, and they're more than happy to share this experience with their people back home. I'm a bit of a marketeer at heart. Telling a good story is not enough. You can't just tell a good story. You need people to listen to that story. You need to have that story repeated. Again, I use the Coca-Cola example all the time. What Coca-Cola do is they tell you the story of open happiness. I laugh at that because Coca-Cola does not give you happiness, but they tell you the story of open happiness, and then they bombard us with $4 billion worth of marketing. So the whole world has just been converted into knowing that Coca-Cola equals happiness. It is just ingrained in us. It's a human trait. If you repeat something often enough, we just accept that as the truth. So repeat the story, tell the story, repeat the story. Let me show you how we are doing exactly the same thing. So for every book that we do, we grow 5 trees. We grow 5 trees in protected Kenya forestry land, and we allocate those trees to the tourist. In the name of the tourist, we've grown the 5 trees. These are geotagged trees where a tourist can go and track how their trees are doing. They can go 20 years from now and have a look at where their trees are and enjoy the tree that you have. What we do, can you just put that first link? Use your QR code scanner. The QR code scanner, as magically as we're going to produce it, is going to give you that. Okay, so that's the, I just keep scrolling down. It doesn't need to take long. Just keep scrolling down. So these are the trees that we're growing. This is the carbon offset. This is where the trees are being grown, and go all the way to the bottom. And that's the contribution to the planet. So the clients are now getting an update on how their trees are doing. Yeah, you can take it off, it's fine. Thanks. Okay, so we're now connecting our tourists to sustainable tourism. We're connecting them to a feel-good environmental project. This does 2 things. It makes them connected to the market, it makes them connected to the country, but it also makes them want to share what they're doing with their friends and family. When they share the story that we've given them. The story that we've given them is selling the country, and it's selling the country or the tour company that brought them here. It's sharing the story that we've given them, right? That's not all. Every 3 or 4 months, we need to update the tourists on how their trees are doing. We give them a little ping and tell them this is the update on how your trees are going. They go on, have a look at the scan, open the book, and figure out how their trees are getting along. Again, all we've done there is we're giving them a very good feel of what they're doing to the environment in Kenya, how they're helping with sustainable tourism, but really importantly, we're reminding them of their story again. So, Coca-Cola, what do? Tell a good story, repeat that story. That's all we're going to keep doing here. Forever, we'll just keep repeating that story. This is what your trip in Kenya was like, and this is how your trees are doing. They will keep reopening the book, remembering their story, and sharing that with friends and family. Just give me the last page. We then try and do one last thing, which I like to say even Coca-Cola guys can't do. I just want to reiterate one really important thing here. Again, perception is probably our biggest weakness. Perception that's been created not by us, but by global reporting and all the other factors that come into it. It's something that we suffer with in this part of the world anyway. But the person that's going to change that perception is not me or you or any other travel company that goes and tells them how amazing Kenya is. It's these guys. It's these guys who are going to go and tell their friends and family how amazing that country is, and they're going to be reminded to do this every time they get an update on the trees. Now we do one last thing here. I'm not going to scan it, but we give them an incentive to refer their friends and family to us. So in this case, and as an example, we'll say, win a $10,000 holiday to Kenya. The more times you refer your friends and family, the more entries you get into the draw. And then we give them an opportunity to refer their families. We use augmented reality on this one. We don't have to, but it's just a cool way to do it. All that means is now, not only have we told a good story, not only have we shared that story and repeated that story, we're now capturing who's listening. Guys, look, for me, if you want to really understand how anything changes, the first thing you need to be able to do is be able to be the storyteller, or if you want to change anything, you need to be the storyteller that makes that change happen. Now, we're talking about, and I think the panel is going to discuss other areas, and we're looking at cultural tourism, we're looking at I heard the birds story, we're looking at water sports and adventure tourism. All these are so great, they're brilliant products. The product itself is as perfect as I think we can get them. I know that from a golfing perspective. We've got one of the best golf courses and weathers in Kenya. I know that from a water sport perspective in terms of kite surfing and a lot of the stuff that we do. We do have a perfect setup. The product is good. The product was never the problem. What we need to do is figure out how to get that message out there. And the way you get the message out there, I'm not saying this is the only way you do it, but you start shouting and screaming that story that you want people to listen to. It's only when you do that, do you really make a big difference, I believe. Thank you. Sorry, I was told to ask the panel a question, so I'm going to ask the panel a question, and I'm going to leave you in the lurch when I do this. But, okay, so look, you've all heard what I've talked to you about in terms of storytelling. I would love to hear it when you guys come up on stage to see what elements of storytelling you guys can add into whatever areas of speciality you guys are in, and how you can make a difference in that sense.
Okay. But I think, Kent, you could have a comment, or you could have a question from the group, because storytelling has become a very powerful tool. And you are using pictures, really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Anybody from the audience who has a question for Kent, or any comment, quick one? Because he says, get the story out there. We have one at the rear. Yes. Please get to the microphone.
Yeah, you're doing a good job, man. No, storytelling. Storytelling is not new. No, but
my name is Winnie Cordero. I'm a director at Genesis Discussions. Now, you've talked about
I'm really struggling to hear.
Okay, you've talked about the story, which I've taken it very, personal, not personal, but all of us have just learnt about it, which is very good, and the video you've showed us. But more of it is about safari. What about the people who do ticketing? What story can we talk about?
What about the people who do what?
Ticketing, travel, tickets, yeah?
It's
because travel is huge, yeah? No. So about tickets, what are we going to tell the story to others?
It's a lovely, lovely question. And I'll tell you why it's a lovely question, because storytelling is not just about tourism, it's not just about ticketing. We all have stories. We're human. Humans live off story. Everything we do is story. Every one of us is a great story, a story worth telling. So for me, I mean, if you gave me an empty canvas, I'd make everyone tell stories every day, because I think that's the differences that we should be making. So ticketing, for me, this is what I would advise. You're sending them somewhere else, right? You're sending them to another foreign destination. They are now the tourists in that destination. They're the ones going out there to experience great memories and have good experiences. That's all you need to be doing is when you come back. If you're doing ticketing, it's a different story. But if you're organize their trip, just get them to give you the images and give them to us, and we'll turn them into books and stories, just exactly the same way we can do any of the other ones. So, like I said, everything for me is a story. Everything can be a story. It's how you put it down and what media you use is the choices that you have. I'm not here to say that books are the only way you do stuff. Everything else that we do with digital platforms and everything else is just as good. I'm just a huge fan of the touch and feel of memories being held in your hands. It just is always going to be my thing. So I think my answer to your question on how do you do it in ticketing is you figure out what value you can add to their experience. One of the ones you can do is to get their images back and turn them into a memory that they can hold on to. Put your logo in it. Make sure that you attach your logo so that they always remember you when they share that story. They share who brought them and who took them there.
Anybody else with a question? We have a second one over there. Could somebody pass over the microphone to her? Manu, you just said anybody can tell a story. Every company has a story. Even if it is ticketing, tell the ticketing experience story. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Every human being has a story.
Every human being has a story. Take it on, lady.
Okay, my name is Faith, sales marketing manager at After 40 Hotel. So I love about the stories and the experience because being in sales, we love to tell the experience. We love to show the experience, the expectations. So my question is, how do you handle the data privacy before, having the consent, taking photos? Yeah, that's it.
Very good question, thank you. Yeah, data protection is big. It's really important, very critical. We've gone through a very tedious law data protection process to understand all the legalities around this. The good news is it's pretty simple. So first of all, if you're taking the picture of anyone, please ask them for permission. You have to ask them for permission. But here's the thing. None of these images go anywhere but to the client whose pictures, or to the book that the client's taking home with them. The pictures of the guys that you've seen here, I've got full consent for them to show that as an example. But apart from that, there's nowhere else those images go. That book is just for the client. So if you're going to use one as a sample, please get permission. That'll be the only thing that I'd say. In terms of data protection, so the law says that as long as the use of the images are for the user that you're taking the images of, basic consent is enough. You don't need to have any greater consent. If you use that image for anything apart from what you promised them, that's a problem. From our side, we're very data compliant. We do photo books for a long time. It's critical to our business that we're not sitting there and spreading personal images of people around. So everything that comes into us is secured into databases, and we make sure that we're data compliant in that sense. But the risks are actually relatively small. Because that book is a printed book without any digital files that are in open circulation, you're not breaching any significant data protocols as long as you just do what you're doing, which is give them the book. The book is just for the tourist, that's it. Don't go using it anywhere else. Don't use the images anywhere else.
Oh, thank you so much.
Answer your question?
We're going to take the last one. I think
Yes.
there's a student here with a question. Second row.
I have the mic. Thank you so much. My question was, do you partner with travel agents and tour operators? And I think they are here in this room. Probably you can just share your rates, or rather how you partner. Oh, thank you so much.
I missed a little bit of that question. Just ask that again, sorry.
Oh, my name is Peter. I was just asking, these are very nice innovation that can be actually complement, what the tour operators are doing. So how do you partner with them? They have the client, and then you come to provide the story. Definitely there is a commercial agreement. So ideally, how do you partner with existing tour operators?
For the sake of time, as well as saving the non-travel people here, and also to get to know you personally, I'm going to say, if you guys want to know how we do this service, if you want to know our rates, if you know how to go about getting these books for your clients, please come and see me. We've got a booth 102, which should be, winding up now anyway. But I'm right here. Come and see me. I'll share all the information that you want to do. Anyone who wants to hear more about it, please come and see me.
Thank you so much, Anuj. I think you're going to just, on a special case, one question from a student. Take it on, I think the second row.
Hi, hello. Mine is not actually a question, but more of a feedback and a remark on your presentation. Basically, because it's something that I personally thought of. I do love poetry, first of all. I'm a writer. I appreciate beautiful words. And knowing that there's someone else out there doing the same thing that I would like to do, I really recommend. And I really, I just want to say thank you for, inspiring me to pursue that idea that I have, and even do it in a much more better way than you have done it. Thank you.
Great minds think alike. No, of course. That would be amazing. I wish you do.
Thank you so much, Anuj. You've just really opened many insights into industry and students. I mean, storytelling has always been powerful. And I think Anuj says, if you've never thought of curating your story, I think storytelling is becoming even more powerful than marketing as a tool.
Well, to be honest, marketing and storytelling are about the same thing. They always have been. It's the same thing. But your voice is now, you've got more platforms to have your voice heard. There was times when, you couldn't get your voices out there. It's probably why, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go back into a little bit of a thing. It's probably why Africa and Kenya, to an extent, has these perception issues, because the narrative was being controlled for us. The narrative was being controlled by foreign players, foreign media, and they were telling stories about Africa being all about splendor or destitute. There was no in between. They were not really sharing the truth about who we really were. And now that we've got platforms that we can tell these stories, we can share what we really are, I think we can make a big difference. And so now, so it's good to change that narrative.
Thank you so much, Anuj. Could we give a clap to Anuj as he gets to down? We'll hold all the speakers for a while as we get to a session. We're going to have a panel session now. And at this point in time, allow me to invite Michelle Ngele. Michelle Ngele Diambo is going to moderate a team here, and they're going to take us through very key conversations. So Michelle, feel free. Michelle is from, Michelle, I'm just going to get this right now. Speaker. Global moderator. She's really a powerful lady, and Michelle, take it on. Call your moderators. What? Oh, yeah. Go ahead, lady. And you have 30 minutes. David Shaw.
Thank you so much, David. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is a good afternoon, right? Fantastic. Now, first things first, let's give ourselves a huge round of applause for making it to the very last panel of the magical Kenya Expo, Travel Expo 2025. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Michelle Ngele Odhiambo. I am a journalist, a news anchor with the Nation Media Group, and your moderator through the next session. And so before we close this great event, I'd like us to dive into a panel discussion, a topic that I believe is perhaps the most exciting topic of this Expo, and that is innovation and diversification in Africa's tourism. This is a conversation where culture meets creativity, where technology meets Africa's tradition, and where Africa's stories, Kenya included, meet the world. Now, traditionally, tourism in Africa has always been defined by our incredible wildlife as well as breathtaking landscapes, and rightfully so, because we do that better than anyone else. But in 2025, the global traveler is asking for more. The global traveler wants an immersive experience. They want authentic and innovative experiences. And so the question is, how do we give them that? How do we expand Africa's tourism portfolio so Africa can remain globally competitive in the market? And so this next panel discussion will unpack exactly that, how to diversify, how to innovate Africa's offering so that we remain globally competitive. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce my panelists on set. And in no particular order, joining us on stage now, we have Ms. Jacqueline Wairetu Njuguna. She is the group founder and CEO of Memoria Hospitality Consulting based in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, please give me a round of applause as we welcome Jacqueline Njuguna to the stage. Also joining us on the stage is Mr. Ben Kelleher. Mr. Ben Kelleher is the chairman and CEO of Tribe Water Sports Watamu. He is also the chairman of Adventure Tourism Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause. And I see Jacqueline also coming on stage. Please give her another round of applause. All right, also joining us on the panel, Ms. Linda Horowitz. She is a senior tourism consultant based in Kenya, bringing diverse experiences from across the world on how Africa can expand its tourism portfolio. Also joining us today is Dr. Kahithe Kero. She is a production manager and head choreographer at the Bomas of Kenya. And last but not least, Mr. Satbir Singh. He is a group CEO of Hanspol Automex Limited based in Tanzania. Once again, a huge round of applause for our panelists this afternoon. Now, as they get settled down, before we begin, just a quick icebreaker. If you had to pick one experience, just one experience to sell Africa to the world, as we talk about innovation and diversification, what would that one experience be? So no one gets to talk, just lift up your hand when I say what you think you would sell to the world if you were selling African tourism, right? So how many of us would be selling wildlife safaris? Right? That's what you'll sell to the world. How many of us will be selling culture and heritage? Many of us think Maasai when we think culture, but there's so much more culture, so many hands. Great. How many would be selling food, gastronomy as Africa's culture? All right, I see the foodies at the end of the room. Great. What about adventure tourism? Bungee jumping, zip lining. All right, okay. Water sports. All right, and so that's the beauty of Africa, ladies and gentlemen, that we're not just one thing, we're many things. And that is why this session this afternoon is important. We'll be discussing cultural tourism, digital tourism, adventure tourism, and all different levels of tourism that we can have to expand Africa's tourism portfolio. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being on the panel this afternoon. Now, I'd like us to begin with a rich conversation on cultural heritage and cultural tourism. And Dr. Kahithe, I'd like to begin with you because you are the production manager and head choreographer at the Bomas of Kenya. Any Kenyan knows the Bomas of Kenya is like the custodian of culture in Kenya. Culture is literally Africa's heartbeat. When you talk about festivals, from food to tradition to oral traditions. But how can African countries then transform culture into an immersive product that wows global audiences but still preserves that cultural authenticity that we need to preserve?
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. It's always difficult to be the one opening a panel, but thank you for the question. At Bomas of Kenya, we've been looking for innovative ways of preserving Kenyan culture and heritage for a very long time now. So it is an organization that's been in existence for over 50 years. So of course, there are products that are out there in the market which are identifiable with us and which are part of our brand and that everyone knows about. I'm sure if I ask the quorum here, people will say they've been to Bomas when they were in primary school probably, and they've seen traditional dances, they've seen the homesteads or the Bomas themselves. But in the world in which we live in, for the product to be more attractive and more competitive, we have to find ways of re-engineering it. And that is the process that is the journey we are on now as Bomas, in line with international trends. So we are looking at incorporating digital technology into culture and cultural preservation. We are looking at leveraging on tech. We are looking at immersive experiences such as VR, AR, and how we can adopt some of these technologies in performing arts, in the museum products, in all these different aspects of cultural preservation. So I think that's the direction in which everyone is going. That's the direction in which the world is going. And as we sit here, we're in the process of renovation and re-engineering. And we are coming up with something that will be termed as the Digital Heritage Center at Bomas. And we are hoping to be a premier institution, a pioneering institution in East Africa with that kind of approach to culture. So how do you not just document culture? How do you put it out there in a creative product that speaks to the current market, that speaks to the younger generations of travelers?
All right, and I think that's a very important point, how culture can speak to the younger generation. Because, I mean, the younger generation literally lives on their phone. So how do we bring that culture to them? But Jacqueline, let me come to you on the issue of culture, because even with the African diaspora now growing more curious about their roots, they want to come home, they call them the homecoming parties. How do we repackage cultural tourism as a bridge home, not just for foreigners, right? But for Africans also seeking reconnection. Sometimes even just for Africans living in urban cities that need that reconnection with their cultural roots. Yes, Jacqueline.
Let me first introduce myself. I'm not Njuguna, I'm Jao. Probably if you're Njuguna, probably you're supposed to be my husband to look for me after this. So for diaspora community to reconnect with their roots, I believe we should have we should come up with cultural villages where we have elders around a bonfire telling stories, because most of our young people are looking at, they desire to know where they came from, what are their roots. And having relatives who've been born in the States, and they come back for holidays, and they want to know, why are we Kikuyus and not Luos? Well, why wasn't I born a Maasai? And so you have to teach them how Kikuyu culture is born and bred, and to make them understand why we don't do things like Luos. We need our elders to be telling these stories, because even as the millennials really don't know. So I think we should incorporate the elders and having these cultural villages, telling how these cultures came up, what they were meant to be, how we were supposed to be distinctive between other cultures as well. I think it is something that I came up with a product called the largest tourism digital story, where you can actually digitalize your story. You come to Kenya, you learn about how Kenyans do things, and you post it. And it was an income actually it is an income generating app, where after you send out your story, I, as the innovator, I will of course earn from those subscriptions. So it is something that we should continue doing and start doing if you're not doing them. It's going to create jobs, because for these cultural villages, I mean, we need people. We need the young and the old sitting together and telling stories. And it's the only way to let Kenya be known to the world.
All right. And I'd like to come to you, Linda, as a senior tourism consultant, because too often culture is reduced to song and dance for tourists, right? You get to the airport and there's a group of, Maasai dancers and Kikuyu singers singing. That's what we reduce it to. But how can African destinations go beyond performance to offer deeper, everyday cultural immersion? And that links me now to our keynote speaker, Anuj Ken's question. As a tourism stakeholder, how are you bringing in storytelling into your diversification and innovation of tourism? So how can we innovate and storytell culture to make it more immersive?
Thanks for your question. I hope you can all hear me. It's such a tension and a dance to make sure that you are sharing your culture or what your community can give without commodifying, right? We're not trying to Disneyfy this experience. We're trying to present an authentic cultural experience that still protects, as we heard Kaya Kinondo, our most sacred spaces that have limited access, but still brings visitors on these unique journeys that at the end of the day, when you take a step back, all destinations have some wildlife experience, some outdoor, some beaches. What is distinguishing your destination? It's the culture, it's the people of that destination. So how are we showcasing this to the world while maintaining authenticity? So I actually wrote down a little formula as I thought of this. So authenticity is equal to consent plus context plus fair benefits minus costumes and staging. So when we're talking about consent, context, and fair benefits, we're talking about, number one, the host community giving their explicit permission, okay? So they are the experience givers of this journey, of this experience that tourists are experiencing, consuming. So they are giving their explicit consent. Context means that visitors are made to understand what is that milieu, what is ongoing in this experience you're providing, including and up to What are the sacred elements? Where are the no access zones? What are the expected behaviors that we expect of you as visitors? Everything from how you dress, how you conduct yourself during this experience, to what we expect you to take away, pay attention to, where you're able to participate and where you take a step back. And then fair benefits means what is the community taking away, or how are they benefiting from opening their doors to their community, to their home. I think Yuri mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, the most important metric is how has a community benefited from whatever type of tourism is being given to in that community, whether it's adventure tourism, it's MICE, whether it's community-based tourism, etc. How is that host community benefiting? If that metric is not strong, then you do not have a sustainable initiative. So coming back to your question, Michelle, of how can we balance availing our culture while not commodifying, and how can we use some existing examples that are successful? Very quickly, I'll draw on this example of the Philippines. The Philippines are largely known for their beaches, and they actually, truthfully to say, they actually struggle to show themselves to the mainstream visitors more than that. But they're doing a lot of things correctly to showcase themselves as beyond just beach tourism. And one of the things they have is a fantastic UNESCO World Heritage rice terrace in the north of the Philippines, in a province called Luzon. And it's a 2,000-year-old network of rice paddies in terraces, so existing for millennia now. And most of them are individual family-owned tracts of land where they're practicing traditional ways of farming rice, using only natural elements, highly organic, and then traditional customs. So visitors are able to go on tours of Luzon and visit the rice paddies. It is guided by a local. So typically it'll be third generation person who's lived there, who, when they're not guiding, they're working those fields, or they've seen their parents do it. And they're taking you through a hike, so you're combining elements of soft adventure as you visit the rice paddies, and as you get to hear of their customs. After you do your tour and hike, you come back, you do some rice harvesting, some separating of the grains from the stalk. You winnow it, you pound it, and that's the rice you're gonna eat to conclude your tour with lunch. So this is a way that you're bringing in visitors. It's low impact. It is still showcasing a living community practicing culturally what they do, but you are embedding yourself there. There's nothing they're doing that's put on, that's commodifying that culture. You are being invited to take part of that journey.
All right, and I mean, that sounds like a lot of opportunity, because I mean, look at the Merus with Mira and, the Kisis with Matoke. I mean, that could be an entire tourist attraction, right? And I'll come back to you, Linda, later to touch base on how then communities in these areas benefit from tourism, because sometimes it feels like they're just the hosts and not really the beneficiaries. But Ben, let me come to you, because adventure tourism is now one of the fastest growing global segments in the tourism market. Outside of now traditional wildlife safaris, what is adventure tourism, first of all, and how can Africa capture this market?
Hello? Yeah, thank you. I think it's a good opportunity to take stock about what adventure tourism actually is, because I think quite often it gets, and we've discussed already today, that it gets put into, or people's perception is that it's actually just hard adventure. So when I talk about that, I'm talking like mountain biking, kite surfing, the more, I guess, dangerous activities. But adventure tourism is actually made up of three core pillars. That is that hard adventure, that activity side of travel. But culture and natural experiences are the two other pillars of adventure tourism. And as you said, it's one of the fastest growing sectors. At the moment, the current market value of adventure tourism globally is about $400 million. $400 million in 2024, and that's expected to rise to $1 trillion in 2030. So there's a massive opportunity for us as a continent to make sure we're absorbing this. So there are sort of three key areas as a continent that we need to be focusing on, and some of this comes to some of the points we were talking about earlier on about perception of our destination. The first one of those is prioritizing safety, particularly when it comes to the hard side of activity. We need to de-risk the sector. This is going to allow for inward investment, where people be looking to invest into destination when they know that it's safe to do so from that perspective. we need to look at adopting our own sort of, as introduced earlier on, I'm working with Adventure Tourism Kenya, and part of our plan is moving towards developing national standards for these adventure experiences, and then also adopting the international standards, so it's easy for our visitors to acknowledge the standards that are being used within the area. And then we must, as a second point, look at product fusion, utilizing the existing products and building them out with other experiences. So, for example, from my stable of products that I deliver here in Kenya, we offer, rather than just a kite surfing holiday to a beach, we do a tour along the coastline kite surfing and integrate a 2-day safari into that too. So starting off in Diani and going through to Savo and then finishing off in Watamu. What this really does quite well is it builds out the stay of the tourist in the destination. So rather than just being a 10-day stay on a kite surfing holiday, this individual or family or couple are now doing more like 14 days, like 40% more of a stay in destination. And then the final point is it needs to have a regenerative value proposition. So the economic value must be democratized. There must be protection of the cultural element, and our natural assets must be preserved as we do implement these adventure products. The good thing about adventure products, they do this quite naturally in the examples I've given already. We're spreading the individual's journey across the country, so it's benefiting a number of communities as they travel across the space.
And that's all very interesting because, when it comes to the world of adventure tourism, safety, like you say, is one of the most important issues that have been brought up. As chairman of Adventure Tourism Kenya, Ben, what strategic policy mechanisms are you implementing to harmonize safety standards, close the existing regulatory gaps, because there's quite a lot there, and also transform safety compliance from not just a constraint, but like a national competitive advantage?
Yeah, so I think the key word that we need to work on here with the answer to your question is trust. We need to build trust, and we're going to do that by compliance, is ensuring that people understand the value of compliance, and that a TRA certificate, for example, that allows you to work within tourism in Kenya isn't something that you should be fearful of, but see the value of it. And that leads into the next point is education. Ensuring people are not fearful of these licenses, and look to organizations like ATK for guidance and education. It was one of the core things that we discussed when we started ATK last year, is we wanted to be a reference for people to be able to come and learn about how they can better themselves and be safe, because it's going to build trust with our international visitor, or even our local visitors. The second bit then, as I said, is education, and already at the moment, I myself actually personally have been doing a lot of work with BMUs on the coastline with KWS and TRA and KTB, educating on the importance of crisis prevention and the value that it adds to your company doing things that don't actually even cost money, but just a little bit more planning. And then when you do come into the financial side of things, like, for example, the cost of buying a radio is a lot cheaper than having to deal with the consequences of not having one in the first place. And then finally, looking at data-driven insights. So we're really trying to build out a database within Kenya of the professionalized adventure tourism products, so that people can see that there's value in compliance, as well as something that we really need to work on as a country is incident reporting. Because if we don't report and learn from things that happen, and within in adventure it is inevitable, because particularly in the hard adventure sector, there are high risk activities. People are going to fall off bikes, people are going to crash kites, but it's important that we have the data to be able to look back and analyze how we can reduce these risks even further.
All right. Mr. Satbir, let's come to you and talk about innovation and diversification in safari and wildlife tourism, because Hanspol Automex has been churning out safari vehicles for a long time. When you talk about innovation and diversification, because safaris have been doing really, really well, what does that look like for you?
So for me, for Hanspol, we look at the industry in general. So I will not really speak particularly about our products, but rather, as Hanspol, we see ourselves as value addition in the supply chain. So as we are all aware that a lot of tour operators bring in tourists into Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda in the region, most of these tourists who go for safaris, they spend over 8 to 12 hours in a vehicle. That's an average. They start a safari in the morning at probably 6 o'clock. They'll probably be in the car until 3, 4 o'clock. So probably more than 10 hours. So we try to make these vehicles very safe, a space where they feel comfortable. As my friend mentioned, safety is a big concern. So in addition to that, we also feel that the driver guide who's driving that vehicle, all the drivers have a dream to own a vehicle. So we feel that we want to make that dream come possible. So what we do is we try to close the gap. We have the asset finance across the region, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, which we are proud of that we've started this product about 8 years ago. So we try to create an employed person to get into an entrepreneur. So instead of them looking for old vehicles, they could venture into a 15% deposit, and they can own the vehicle. So instead of being employed, we try to create Kenyans, Tanzanians, to start owning those vehicles by placing a small deposit. By doing so, a lot of big companies now, they have different business models, and as we see, the larger companies prefer to lease the vehicles off the driver guides rather than owning those vehicles. So by doing that, again, those big companies can now hire brand new vehicles instead of old vehicles. So we really feel that as Hanspol, as the transport provider for the vehicles for the region, we really want to have an impact in our industry. We want to create a ripple effect. We want to create mid-income people in our region. And as we all know that a lot of us in our region, in the African region rather, we highly depend on tourism, and that's one of our strongest sector that actually brings foreign currency into our countries. So due to that industry, we as Hanspol would like to create the positive impact, leave aside just closing the gap.
All right, and it's a very noble cause, of course, creating more entrepreneurs really in the tourism world. But very, very briefly, because much of this conversation is also happening in the era of green tourism, sustainable tourism. What role can green technologies play in the world of wildlife and safari tourism? When you talk about electric vehicles, perhaps positioning Africa not just as a leader in safari and wildlife tourism, but also as a leader in ecotourism innovation.
So I'm going to break this into 3 sectors. So a lot of people ask me that what if everybody buys brand new vehicles, where do the old ones go? So we have a solution for that as well. The old vehicles, which are over 10, 15, 20 years old, we have a retrofit solution to it as eMotion Africa. And we take your old combustion engine out and replace it with an electric engine. So that gives that vehicle a second life, and that vehicle can now go into the parks, station at the lodges, do game drives through being charged with the solar system, which all the lodges have that. So in the tourism sector, all the accommodation in the parks depend on solar, and we are blessed in Africa, we have enough sunlight, so we add value there as well. In addition to that, we also attract throughout the region of East Africa. Imagine a client, a tour operator, a tourist comes into our region in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and as soon as they land in an airstrip, they're picked up by an electric vehicle. They feel they are part of the green journey. Not just the green journey, but that vehicle which had a combustion engine, 20-year-old, smoking, with the old engine, now that vehicle is 100% clean. Plus, in addition to that, it's silent. So there's certain areas in the parks, especially where the rhinos are, they're very sensitive to smell. But with the electric vehicles, with the electric safari vehicles, you can actually get quite close to the animals without disturbing their natural habitat.
All right, and I believe that would be a welcome relief to anyone, because it's very annoying to go to the park and not see any animals because they heard you coming and all ran away, right? But let's fast track this conversation. And Jacqueline, let me come to you with a conversation on agri-tourism, because it's one of the ways to diversify Africa's tourism portfolio. So everybody's talking about farm to fork, rural escapes, but how do we position, first of all, what is agri-tourism, right? And how do we position it as a mainstream mode of tourism?
Agritourism is a type of travel where travelers at the soil meet to experience how we grow, how we eat, and how sustainable life can be. There are many business models that can be created around it, and one of them is having agri-parks. You know, it is how we can have homestays, agricultural results. You know, for example, if in a vineyard, we have agricultural results. We have horse riding within the farms. We can, I mean, I don't see why Africa or Kenya shouldn't become the most can create the super food trail, you know, from Nyeri, having avocados in Nyeri, picking tea in Kericho, I mean, having macadamia in Murang'a. These are trails, food trails that we can create and create an eco-safaris around culinary foods. We are doing the largest food festival in April, where we are saying, let's experience each other's food. 47 counties, 47 dishes. I want to know why the Kikuyus came up with ugali, why they eat githeri, you know? I don't want to be a mzungu from the US and I'm coming to eat the same kind of food I eat there. Let's serve our food, let's tell our story through our food, our dance, and also how we tell our stories and through agriculture. I mean, we have a very huge market in Italy. Italy wants to come and find out, how do we plant our bananas? How do we plant our tea, our coffee? Spain, they want to learn how we plant our embauchures, you know? So we can actually promote agri-tourism by even people planting, having the largest seed bank in our country, and other countries could be buying from us. So there's so much we can do around that. And I want to imagine a regenerative eco-safari where every visitor plants, waters, and pick something digitally, you know, it's possible. And from farm to the future, a flagship of agri-food bank, which can actually be used to, you know, to feed people who are going through hardships, like it could be taking food to Russia, you know, to Ukraine. It is vice versa. Today we have food security, tomorrow another country doesn't. So agri-tourism is more of food security, but also an experience of learning each other's food behavior and dynamics of how we feed and how we live through culture. I mean, food, I mean, we can create a whole story through food and super food, whatever trails. And I think there's too much we can do. I mean,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And of course, storytelling comes in there because a lot of African foods have a story behind them, right?
You can't do without stories.
Right. But Kahite, I'd like to come to you because when you talk about, you know, agri-tourism, rural escapes, cultural tourism, we're not really leaving our cities behind, right? Nairobi, Lagos, Johannesburg, all these African cities have some sort of culture with them. Nairobi has matatu culture, or is it Nganya culture, whatever it is. I mean, street food is another thing. But how can African cities package this creative, bustling energy, nightlife into tourism products that rival the likes of Paris, New York, and Tokyo?
Thank you. So I think the first challenge we have, and I'm going to speak specifically about Kenya now, is that we tend to misinterpret or wrongly define the word culture. So we tend, in our minds, we tend to say culture equals tradition. So, which means everything which is not, traditional, the old ways and how things used to be and how things are in the rurals, it automatically not authentic, therefore is not worthy of us putting in an effort into packaging it and selling it, especially to international tourists, So I think that's the first very wrong interpretation of culture. So we need to bring into we need to start from operating from a very wider definition of culture, which also includes the super, active and really attractive creative economy that exists all across Africa in all our cities. Some of the challenges that we are having and what's making it impossible for us to really make our cities a destination and not just a landing strip, like people land in Nairobi and then they're put into vans and taken to, the Mara. One of the problems we are having is that there's really no, coordinated effort from one side, the policymakers and the government agencies and private entrepreneurs, Most of our cultural and creative economy depends on small private businesses, creatives, freelance artists. Yeah, so many people who are making this. So many activities happen. Actually, Nairobi is full of life, but we are not able to translate it into a tourism product. Over and above lack of some kind of synergized effort, what is really a challenge is insufficient financing. As a small business that deals in culture, try and get a loan, try and get any form of financial support as somebody who is not fully employed and maybe you're operating as a CBO, you are not, you're not necessarily for-profit oriented per se. We also have insufficient infrastructure on one side. But then on the other side, we have a lot of public spaces and existing structures that are underused, Think of public squares, think of historical sites and museums that could be repurposed and reused and transformed into creative hubs. Almost every city out there in the world that's doing well in terms of cultural tourism has at least two common things that we need to work on as low-hanging fruits, yeah? One would be investing in infrastructure, which also entails safety. Because remember, infrastructure is not just having, good museums and good performance spaces. It's also the supporting infrastructure, which entails pedestrian zones, good lighting, things that make a person secure and safe in the city to be able to go and consume this, especially because a lot of this is related to nightlife, So we're talking about after hours. So we need to have a better infrastructure. And then the second thing that we need to think of is that we need to have a well-established calendar, even if we're going to start with one festival or two festivals, which some of them are already in existence. We don't even have to reinvent the wheel, But we put in an effort also as government, can we give incentives to these young creatives? Can we market and promote them? Can we make sure that everyone knows in Nairobi every June, for example, there is this and this event? And then create networks of festivals that enables us to have one as well in Mombasa and one in Kampala, which then makes it possible for you to bring an international artist and tour him across the region, yeah? So it's essentially, I think, there's a lot of things happening. It's just that we have not really known how to take what is going on a local level, and really package it and sell it out there and attract, visitors even from international places.
All right, Sadhbir, you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I'd just like to add one thing there. You see, the tourists that come into Kenya, for example, I see there's a lot of opportunity here. For example, your parks are quite far apart from each other in compared to the other regional places like Tanzania and Rwanda, perhaps Uganda as well. So really, it all depends on the local tour operator how he would design his itinerary, right? If that itinerary is designed in such a manner that the local culture and the local attractions between the two national parks. So obviously, people who come to our region in East Africa, the biggest selling point is a safari and perhaps the beach. But the beach is available in lots of other places in the world, but the safari is available in Africa. So from point A to point B, there is a lot of local places, and obviously you touch the right places, the right points like security and safety. So I guess because of the international pressure and policies in that itinerary, maybe some tour operators might be avoiding the local stops and just get someone from one national park to another. So if that particular part could be sorted out in such a manner that is safe, I'm not saying it's not safe already, but more safe than what it is, more comfortability, small infrastructure available, local finance is available from small companies. I always have an argument with a lot of people that in East Africa generally, it's next to impossible for a person who doesn't have history in a bank account to get a loan. I mean, the banks, this is my word to all the banks, the banks want to lend to people who don't need to be lent. So this is something we all need to work on. And this is actually a bottleneck for our entire region in East Africa. You're lending money to people who don't have to prove to you that they need the money. But there's a lot of opportunity available in the much lower level, and that's where we need to touch so that our local people can start having small infrastructures.
All right, we must begin to wind up. Linda, I'd like to come back to you on the issue of community-based tourism as we wind up, because when you listen to all the stakeholders on the stage today, adventure tourism, agri-tourism, safari tourism, cultural and digital tourism, all of it comes back to the community, right? It's all being done within a certain community. But the biggest conversation has been the communities can drive more diversity in tourism, but many times it feels that they do not benefit from the tourism in those areas. How can we bridge this gap very briefly so that communities can also expand Kenya's tourism portfolio?
That is always one of the biggest challenges with tourism, how to mitigate or minimize economic leakages and enhance economic linkages. In other words, how to generate the revenue internally in that destination and ensure it circulates there without leaving that community, much less the country. So one of the things that's really important is, like I said at the beginning, consent. That means that that community is at the table as the tourism initiatives or ideas are happening, right? That you have them have a say in what kind of tourism is being provided or what experiences are being provided, who is the provider of these experiences, that should be the community, when, what is appropriate, and then what is the model of revenue sharing, if there's revenue sharing, or how are those returns being plowed back into the community. So I think it was mentioned in an earlier seminar, even in the MICE industry, what does that look like when a destination is bidding for an opportunity? That a certain percentage of suppliers are local, certain business opportunities are local. How are you availing those opportunities to that community? And then how are you ensuring that any ancillary services are also provided by that community? Further on even, because sometimes you're talking about destinations that are very young and they might not have the skilled labor to provide some of these experiences, but how are you ensuring the training and the upskilling of your local workforce and the youth so that they are the ones benefiting and plowing into this tourism economy?
All right, thank you so much, Linda. Let me just very briefly also give some time to the audience. If you have a question, a comment on innovation, and okay, questions up already. So let's take just 2-3 comments, very briefly, keep them sharp and brief so that we can wind up on time.
Hi, my name is Daisy Wambua, and I'm the CEO founder of Digital Nomads Kenya. And my question is, countries like Lisbon and Portugal, they've literally rebranded themselves and no longer are having digital nomads who just visit. But they visit, they spend, and they invest. How can you, as investors and industry leaders here, become part of that building new economy in Kenya? What are you going to do about it?
Can you hear? Sorry, it's not very audible. Sound team, please. All right, it seems like a great question. Please ask it again.
I was talking about digital nomadism, and my name is Daisy Wambua. I'm the CEO founder of Digital Nomads Kenya, and I was just wondering, like Kenya, what can investors do when it comes to rebranding Kenya as more than just a tourist destination? How can we encourage the people to just come and live here, spend here longer, much longer than just a day or 2 days or 10 days kind of stay?
That's a very good question. Any panelists want to take that?
I'll start a little bit with back to the point I made about product fusion. Part of the product fusion is taking existing products and maybe adding adventure to it. So an example of that would be sort of putting agro-tourism together with mountain biking trails. Now, as a destination, we really want to look past sort of passive observation, so like an afternoon at a tea farm, a short stay, and turn that into a potential 9-day mountain biking trail through farmland and tea plantations and learning about the culture and the history of the country and where tea fits into that. Our tourists, and particularly our adventure tourists, are looking for these authentic experiences, and so focusing on that product fusion will assist with what you're asking.
All right, Kahita?
I just wanted to add one thing because she spoke very clearly about digital nomads. So that goes back to the comments I was giving about infrastructure, and from the aspect of connectivity. Some of it is not just about having a more robust infrastructure and ensuring that digital nomads can work from anywhere in Kenya, not just from Nairobi, from inside the park and from Nanyuki and from Turkana, without interruption. But some of it is about real robust infrastructure, but another part of it is also about perceptions. And that's what I wanted to add on what our colleague here was saying from Hans and Paul. It's about how do people perceive the country? How do people perceive the continent, Do they have information that some of this is actually readily available? Or is all the perception out there negative from the perspective of, lack of security, bad infrastructures, or no public transport, or so on and so forth? Do they know that you can have your food delivered? I'm just using this as an example. You can have your food delivered just pretty much anywhere in Kenya through an online app, that you can use transport through an online app, even if the public transport is not reliable, So I think it's also about perceptions, and I think for perceptions, it requires more than just one entity or more than just one investor or leader. I think it really needs to be a unified effort across the board from both government and marketing agencies and tour operators and every one of us to, again, going back to the keynote, tell the right stories, and tell the positive stories about how life in Kenya could be, or in other countries.
It's a question that all the panelists want to speak. Linda.
Okay. I think, the reality is there are market failures and also sometimes leadership gaps in these things. The question was actually referencing Portugal, where you see there's a concerted government effort to attract digital nomads. The same thing with a lot of Southeast Asian countries as well. So they're creating visas that are conducive for digital nomads. They're really highlighting their IT capabilities for this kind of lifestyle. They're showcasing their destinations as conducive to someone who wants to live there for 6 months to a year. But in the space of Kenya not being quite there, I might even throw it back to the audience, those of you who are tour operators, travel agents. I think there's a market gap where you can be a tour operator, a travel agent, and there's already so much supply, the types of products, experiences. We know that we are a very technologically savvy country, and so who in the supplier side of things can put all these together and position, right, my travel agency, my tour operator specializes in enabling you to come here and have 3 months or whatever the current visa duration is, where you can work from wherever. We'll figure that out for you, find where there's reliable internet in different locations in Kenya. And on the weekends, do you know what? We'll put together excursions for you. So I think even within the current context, without that maybe national push, there's things that can be done with the existing infrastructure and supply.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, we must wind up this conversation. Thank you all so much for being part of this. Let me appreciate my panelists once more. Mr. Satbir Singh, sitting right next to me, is a group CEO of Hans Paul Automex, based in Tanzania. Right next to him is Dr. Kahite Kiro. She is a production manager and head choreographer at the Bomas of Kenya. Next to her is Miss Linda Horowitz. She is a senior tourism consultant based in Kenya. We also have Jacqueline Wairitu Njuguna. She is group founder and CEO of Memoria Hospitality Consulting, also based in Kenya. And last but not least, Mr. Ben Kelleher, chairman and CEO of Tribe Water Sports Watamu and chairman of Adventure Tourism Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being part of this conversation. Thank you for listening to the conversation, and a big thank you to the magical Kenya Travel Expo 2025 team for giving us a stage. My name is Michelle Ngele Odhiambo. Thank you so much.
Now, Michelle, thank you so much for excellent moderation and a strong team of panelists. Michelle, something so urgent. There's one person from the audience whom we're not going to leave out, has a burning question. Raise it up quickly. Only one, strictly.
Thank you. My name is Warukira Julius Njuguna. I'm from University of Embu.
Try to be louder.
My name is Warukira Julius Njuguna.
Can I use your mic? Of course, yeah. Speak louder.
So, my name is Warukira Julius Njuguna. I'm from University of Embu, and I'm a disability advocate. My question will go to MTKE 2025. As a disability advocate, I see many policies written on paper, but where are the enforcement mechanisms? Which penalties or incentives exist to ensure that tour operators and hotels actually implement accessibility standards? That is the question number one. The question number two, I'm asking. Tourism operators love to market inclusive travel. Yet most hotels in Kenya still lack ramps, accessible toilets, or braille signatures. Why are these businesses allowed to operate without meeting a basic accessibility standards? Question number three. We talk about inclusivity.
Just those two. The rest you can share so that the panelists are able to support you better. So, Michelle, could you align?
Absolutely.
Which
So let's have the panelists
here?
address that. And I believe he's asking largely about inclusivity for persons with disability as we talk about expanding Kenya's tourism portfolio. Who will take that from the panel?
Let me try.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, there's a restaurant in Lavington where they've employed deaf waiters, right? And they communicate through sign language. I think that's inclusivity, if you ask me. We have a group of people who are training blind people to do tour guides through sense of feeling. So again, that's inclusivity of PWDs. So it's a policy that maybe has not been very well captured in our agenda, but I know it's coming up very well because the previous panel, there was someone from Access Travel. They mainly deal with PWDs, and they have tour vans that are designed just for the PWDs. So it is there, probably not so shouted, but it is there.
All right, Tadbir?
I'll just add very briefly. I do understand in Kenya, again, Tanzania as well, there is quite a few places where the specially challenged make these glass bottles, glasses and glass plates and etc. That itself is quite inclusive. And plus, I'll talk about cars again. The tour operators, there is no company in the region that would actually refuse anyone to actually become a tour guide and etc. So we do see that a lot going on. Especially we see a lot of female guides now. And tour operators take this as an opportunity rather than a threat. And a lot of tour operators in the region actually touch that point that the gentleman mentioned about inclusivity, and that is actually, should not be saying that, but it actually becomes your USP, it becomes your unique selling point. So I think it's already there, and I've not heard of not being there.
Right, and what I'm hearing is that there's a gap somewhere. I mean, they want to see ramps, maybe even in the safari vehicles, and that is the sort of inclusivity that they are asking for. But thank you all so much for being part of this conversation. There's one thing we can take away. Yes.
So just about vehicles as well. Recently, we've done quite a few vehicles that are accessible, with wheelchair accessibility, especially in Kenya. So it's already there.
All right, so that's a step towards inclusivity. David, as you take it over, I mean, I think if there's one thing we've taken away from this conversation today, and I promised you guys it would perhaps be one of the most exciting topics of the show, is that Africa isn't one thing. There's so much about us that can all be diversified into tourism and innovation. We just need to be daring enough to make it happen. Over to you, David.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Of course, very knowledgeable panelists. Audience, thank you so much for your patience and really giving them time to really share with us the knowledge. Now, Michelle, in a very special way, I'm going to detain your panel here for a little bit. We are wrapping the session, and we are wrapping it through academic knowledge. We are going to invite the last talk, quick, rapid talk. This talk is going to be delivered from the academic presentation by Doreen Ikala Musakala on cultural diversity. Maureen, you have below 10 minutes to kill it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Doreen Ikala Musakala, a student at Dedan Kimathi University, taking Doctor of Philosophy in Sustainable Tourism and Hospitality, equally a lecturer and registrar student registration and examinations at Boma International Hospitality College. I am going to take you through cultural diversity and workforce productivity in international tour companies operating in Nairobi's tourism hub. So what is this cultural diversity? When you look around where you are seated today and try to gauge where your neighbor is coming from, you will realize that this topic is very live, because today we've interacted with people from different ethnic backgrounds, different nationalities, different linguistic backgrounds, and that is what cultural background is all about. And when we talk about workforce productivity, we are talking about the output, the performance that staff are supposed to give in their places of work. So, according to Tourism Regulation Authority, productivity in international tour companies is very key in competitive and sustainable tourism in Nairobi and in the world. However, globalization in tourism sector also leads to leads to better productivity in workforce in tourism industry. Diversity can foster creativity and problem solving. Once you are able to understand other people's cultures, you understand how they work, you will be able to solve whatever problems that they have. So, the problem statement of this study, the main aim of this study was to analyze the effect of cultural diversity on workforce productivity in international tour companies working in Nairobi. The objectives to the study: to establish the influence of intercultural communication to employee productivity in international tour companies operating in Nairobi's tourism hub, to evaluate the influence of cultural competence training on employee productivity in international tour companies in Nairobi, and the hypothesis, research hypothesis: intercultural communication has no significant effect on employee productivity in international tour companies operating in Nairobi's tourism hub, cultural competence training has no significant effect on employee productivity in international tour companies in Nairobi. The theoretical framework, the study is guided by international communication theory, because this theory directly links intercultural competence and communication with productivity. However, the cultural dimensions theory and social identity theory are also acknowledged in this study as complementary, since they help explain cultural diversity at the national and group levels, which provide context in which intercultural communications take place. The conceptual framework, the dependent variable here is the workforce productivity, factoring in task efficiency, customer satisfaction, and team collaborations. These are very much independent on intercultural communication competence, which highlights knowledge of cultural norms, verbal communication skills, non-verbal communication skills. Also cultural competence training, cultural awareness, skills development, and sensitivity to diversity. The research methodology, descriptive cross-sectional design, was used to analyze and stratified random sampling used to pick a sample size of 248. Data was collected via semi-structured questionnaire using the drop and pick model. Quantitative data was analyzed using descriptive and inferential techniques. Descriptive analysis. The study is guided, the regression model explains 54.9% of the variance in the workforce productivity. Both predators, the cultural competence training and the intercultural communication, was statistically significant. This indicating that intercultural communication and cultural competence training are essential in enhancing workforce productivity in international tour companies. Consequently, both the null hypotheses were rejected, confirming that cultural diversity has a great significant influence on workforce productivity. In conclusion, we are saying that diversity management drives productivity. It enhances communication and hence drives productivity. Strong intercultural competence improves efficiency and serves quality. Continuous training and feedback reduces turnover and miscommunication. This just reminds me, a while earlier I was talking to one of the great managers in this country in hotels, and he was talking about how these feedbacks have enhanced their workforce productivity in their places of work. Leadership commitment is essential for inclusive culture, and integrating diversity into HR strategy sustains competence. We therefore recommend that staff should pursue ongoing cultural competence learning. Managers should incorporate inclusive communication and structured diversity training. Human resource managers in hotels, in tour operating companies should link intercultural skills to performance reviews and rewards. policymakers should also consider incentivizing diversity training via grants and tax reliefs. Academias, in conjunction with CATO, should standardize and update cultural training curriculum. Thank you so much, and sorry for the rush because of the essence of time.
Thank you very much, Maureen. We give Doreen, yeah, thank you. With the rush, you made it, lady. There's a lot of linkage between the conversation that was being taken by the panel, of course, from cultural immersion, agritourism, adventure, sustainability. I've had something on green infrastructure as well. And then the bombers of Kenya really creating sustainable products. I think, Michelle, you've done a fantastic job, and has closing with academia, Doreen bringing the academia perspective. Let's give a last round of applause to all of them. Panelists, is really a special time. We're going to gift everyone here today. And at the panel, all the innovators, please come to the floor, come to the podium. The innovators that made the presentation, our keynote speaker who made the presentation as well. Come for the gifting time. The speaker, come to the floor, innovators. And then the panelists, please, let's come on to. Michelle, Michelle, you're part of them? I think so. It's a group photo first. For the panelists, Michelle, take it on with your panel. The innovators will join immediately after this. Join them. We are together in this innovation life, so it's okay. We are going into gifting the speakers, and we have Mr. Okeyo join us. Dr. Laban and Dr. Bitok, please join us in gifting. Dr. Edgar, join us in the gifting. The chair of the committee, Dr. Laban, please, you can gift the panelists. We can start with the moderator, Michelle. Dr. Bitok, any panelist can come? Any panelist, no order. Dr. Edgar, any panelist?